I'm going to go ahead and take you guys all off mute in case you have any questions. All right, good morning. So if you guys have your speakers on, you should be able to speak through the meeting. So if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So what we're going to go over is uploading images and files, and then adding those images and files to different pages, adding links, and then also creating a slideshow. So what I did for our example is I've created a page for us to add images to, called our favorite trips. Before we actually go into the page itself, though, let's go ahead and take a look at what the images and files portion of this looks like. So there's just a couple things I wanted to note about this. So you have your pre-filled folders that just come with your NexCite². You can use any of these images that you'd like to. So anytime you're looking for an image and you want to see if we have something, you can always go into the common folder. We also have our banners uploaded in here, some destination icons, and supplier logos. You can also add your own folders. So you have two that you'll automatically get just because to make things easier for you. But then you also can actually add new folders. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to go ahead and call this our favorite trip. One thing to note about adding a folder, the folder names cannot have spaces in them. Now you'll see that I have our favorite trip showing here with an empty folder. I'm going to go ahead and actually upload some files into this. All you have to do to upload files is click on this area here, which will open up your computer. And I save my files on my desktop here. And you can actually select several images to be used at once. So I can either drag and drop these over, or I can just hit open and it'll take all 4 of those. So some other cool things you can do in here is you can actually rename the files. You can also resize them. So just a quick note before doing anything like that, if you already have those images on your website, if you rename it or resize it and save it under a different name, it'll break any image links you have. So that's something to be careful of, and it'll actually tell you when you do it. So if I wanted to rename this, it tells you that it'll break any links. So it's really easy to do, though. If I just wanted to rename it China, I can do that. Also, if I wanted to resize it for any reason, actually, sorry, let me do that a little slower. So if I wanted to resize it, I would just go ahead and hit Edit, and then go to Resize. It'll show me the original file size, which you can see is 950 by 375. You can choose any of the predetermined sizes, or you can actually, you can actually drag and drop. So if you're wanting it to be a size different than small, medium, or large, you can do this. You cannot crop images here, though. And you'll want to make sure you know the ratio size cannot be changed. So you can't stretch it, which is a good thing. Otherwise, you might end up with some really wonky looking images. If you're looking for something to crop your images or anything like that, there are photo editing programs you can use, like Photoshop or Paint. There's also online ones you can use. PicMonkey is one of them. PicMonkey.com. So if that's what the size I wanted, I could always overwrite the current image, which would just save it on top of the same file name. Or if I just wanted to save it like that, it will give me the option of what to change it to. So I can rename it as China 2, for example. You can also do some managing to the folders themselves. So this manage up here is what that folder is, or what that manages for. So I can rename the folder or delete the folder. All right, so now that we kind of went over where you go to upload images and files, let's go ahead and actually add some of these onto a page. So I'm going to go back to my page admin where it shows me my list of pages. And I'm going to go into our favorite trick here. And I already have this ready to start adding things in, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit edit. Adding pictures is really easy. All you have to do is click into your editing field, and then you have an image button right here that'll walk you through actually adding an image. So let's go ahead and add one image right now. I'm going to go over this a little bit after we get our image added, but let's go ahead and find what image we want to use first. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and use one of the common images. Let's go ahead and use this one. I like that. It's pretty. All right. So this is a little bit big. I'm going to actually resize it using this. So this isn't changing the size of the image itself. It's just determining how big it'll show on the page. So if you have a really big image, you'll probably want to actually resize the actual image instead of just resizing it on the page. Because the bigger the image, the bigger the file size most likely is. And the bigger the file size is, the longer it takes for it to load on page. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and resize this manually so that on the page itself, it's just going to show as 300 pixels wide and 225 high. If you were wanting to, for any reason, change the ratio, you can unlock or lock it here. So this will allow me to make the height 20 if I wanted to, and it'll stretch the picture out. In most cases, you won't want to do that. It just makes the images look bad. You also have the option to add alternative text in here. Alternative text is actually really important for search engine optimization. Search engines don't have a way of seeing an image, so alternative text gives you a way to actually tell a search engine what that image actually is. So I'm going to call this Napa Valley. And that will also show when somebody's hovering over the image. It'll show that title, Napa Valley. And then also for people who are seeing disabled, a lot of times they'll have programs that will scan the website and tell them any alternative text that they see. You can also add a border around it. So if for any reason I was wanting to add a border, I can do that here. And that gives me a border that is 2 pixels thick. H space determines the horizontal space between this and anything to the left or right of it. So if I do that at 10, you see it moves over. V space is very similar, except it's vertical spacing. So again, if I did 10, you see it moves down. So now I will know that if I have anything around this, it's going to automatically put in a padding of 10 all around it. Now you can choose to make this left or right. And I'll show you how to actually center it as well. For now, though, let's go ahead and not set it. All right, so I've got everything in here. You have an advanced option as well. Most people aren't going to be using this, but if you happen to be pretty in-depth with your HTML coding and website design, this is an area you might use. For most users, though, this is as far as you'll probably go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. We'll take a look at that. I think that looks nice. It's got a nice border around it. And if I wanted to center it, all I have to do is actually click either to the right or to the left of it and hit that center option. That centers it. So I'm going to save this really quick and preview it so we can just double check and make sure that alt tag is working. I'm going to hit save, preview page, and then if I hover over it, it should be giving me an alt text, which is not. So let's double check that. Go back into editing, double click it. You'll see the alternative text there. So that's something we're going to have to check into because it should show when you hover your mouse on it. All right, that is for another day, but let's keep moving on here. All right, so that is adding an image to a page. Let's say you wanted to actually add a slideshow. Now, adding a slideshow is pretty similar. You just have a lot more options with it. So to add a slideshow, you're going to be using this button right here. You'll notice if you hover over it, it's called Insert Slideshow. Now, you'll have some options with your slideshow as well. You can add in a title if you want to. It's totally optional, though, so if you don't put a title, it just means it won't have any text around it. you'll have some options as far as width. I'm going to go ahead and leave ours at auto. And I'm going to have it automatically display and automatically display navigation arrows, so you'll see those arrows on it. And I'll leave that as is. You can also play with the transition styles. These are really fun. So let's say I wanted to try straight horizontal. You can see what that looks like just by refreshing your sample here. And when it switches to the next slide, you'll see how the transition looks. So now that's the straight horizontal. I think I'll stick with that. I like that. And then all you have to do to your slideshow is start adding images. One thing to note about this is when you're adding images to a slideshow, depending on what you're using the slideshow for, you probably don't want more than 3 to 5 images. This is especially if you're using it in a banner. Most likely, you're not going to have a customer sitting there and actually watching it through the whole thing. It's just some nice kind of background noise going on. If it's something more like you are showing off pictures from a trip or something like that, it'd be reasonable to have a little bit more, but you really don't want more than like 10, maybe 15 total, just because the more images you have, the slower it is to load. All right, so I have my images all prepared. My images are all the same size, and that's important for slideshows. It looks a lot cleaner and better if they are all the same exact size. So these I actually pre-sized before I loaded them in. And then to start adding them, all you have to do is hit select. So you'll see that one just came in here. I want to go ahead and add the other 3. So I'll go ahead and select that one. Select that one.
I would have never figured this out.
And that one. And then you can take a look at the preview if you hit refresh again. And that way I can see the images that I actually uploaded. All right, so that looks good. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and align the center. And hit OK. We can take a look at what that looks like. So you won't see the slideshow in the actual editing, but it does give you a really good idea of the size it takes up. So let's go ahead and save this, preview the page, and see what that looks like. All right, so that looks pretty good. You can see because they're the exact same size, you don't end up with any weird white spaces around it. And then you can also see if I hover over it, it gives me the navigation arrows if I wanted to skip forward for any reason. All right, so the last thing I'm going to go over is adding links and link types. So let's go ahead and go back to our page here. So you can add links to images. You can also add links just to text or to both. So let's just say that I had something that I wanted to link this image to. I'm going to go ahead and actually give it a title as well. So we'll call it Learn More About Napa Valley. So to add text to an image, all you have to do is select that image, which will turn it blue so you know it's highlighted. And then we'll use this link created right over here. The first thing it's going to show you is it'll ask you what kind of link type you wanted. So you can link it to another page on your website. So let's say you have a Napa Valley page that you wanted to link that image to. You'd be able to do that here. You can actually link it to an image or file. So one reason you might want to do that is, let's say you have a PDF of a Napa Valley group trip you're doing. You would want to go ahead and actually link to an image or file and then link it to that PDF that you would upload into your image file. I'm sorry? Was there a question? All right, well, let's keep moving then. You can link it to a target search. Target search is something we're going to actually go over in the intermediate training, so we're going to kind of skip that for now, along with offer details, offer groups, and actually most of these. So the 2 things you'll probably use it for most would be for actually let me say 3. So you use it for probably a page, image or file, or an external URL. An external URL is if you're linking it to somewhere outside of your website. So because I don't actually have another page to link that to or anything right now, I'm just going to select an external URL. And I don't have anything, so I'm just going to make up a URL here. All right, so now I've got my link info part done with. The second thing you're going to want to do, especially when you're linking to outside of your website, is you're going to want to change the alt. Now, what that means is, how is the link going to open? So it'll default to open within the same page. So that means if it's opening to another website, it's actually moving away from your website and opening that new website and replacing your website with it. So for an outside website, you're going to want to make sure you actually select a new window. For pretty much any reason, you're probably only going to be using these two. So either current window if you're opening to a link within your website, or a new window when you're going outside of your website. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to a new window. And there's more advanced features as well. Most people aren't going to use that, but we have it available in case you do want to change anything of those. All right, so let's go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and actually link this to the same thing just so you can see what that looks like. So to link text, all you have to do is highlight it, and again use that link button. And we want to do an external URL, and we'll use the www.com. Again, and again, it's an outside website, so we're going to change it to open in a new window. All right, so let's go ahead and save that, and we'll test our links. And I don't really know actually what this website is or even if it exists, but let's check. All right, perfect. So it does open, and you can see it open to a new page. So you can see I actually still have our website open behind it. And the same thing should happen with this one. And it does. So you see it's just open in a new window there. All right, perfect. So just one last quick thing before we end our session today. You want to be careful of where you're getting images. There are a lot of copyright restrictions and things like that with images. So you want to be careful about not just, Googling China and then just grabbing a picture off the internet. You want to make sure you do have the proper permissions to use it. And then file type is important as well. Not all file types are going to be able to be used on your website. So PDFs are great if you want to open them as a link in a new window. That's perfect. Pretty much any image file you can use, so JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, pretty much any of those will work. And that's about it. Did anybody have any questions about what we went over or any other questions? All right, great. Well, thank you so much for attending this. Hopefully you guys all have our phone number and email address. You can call us at 503-626-7766, option 2. Or our email is support@passportsonlineinc.com. All right, take care, everybody. Have a good day.